Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to talk about Greenbull, or Ryokugyu, or Aramaki. And I thought I'd just give my impression of him in a little bit more detail outside of my review and reaction in general. So just a baseline. He is an admiral. He's the newest admiral that we've been introduced to. He is based on, because all of the admirals are based off of, like, I think actors. What was his Yoshio Harada is what he seems to be based on, and his name Aramaki is based on a character that Harada played named Aramaki. Now those are broad strokes about his basing. Up until now, no, we don't really have a huge idea of what he exactly is like. We have a general idea. He seems to be a fan of Sakazuki or Akainu, but at the same time, he's kind of laid back to some degree. He seems to be a little bit more complicated than I thought he'd be. A lot of people thought he'd be like more of a rebel and a little bit more like Fujitora, but now I'm starting to think that maybe him and Fujitora fight later on, and you have Fujitora, who maybe sides with like Luffy and the good pirates, and maybe he fights with Akainu or something like that, right? And now I'm getting to the point where I can't believe I'm like a minute or two into this video and I haven't mentioned basically everyone's theory about him being a plant person is confirmed. We got our first teasing in chapter 1052 where he showed up and he was like I think it was him taking over like the transponder snail transmission, and it was basically him helicoptering into Wano with a flower on his back. And now in this last chapter 1053, we see him with like vines coming out of his hands, and like he's like sucking up all the moisture out of King and Queen and all of the beast pirates. So it's like clearly he's got some sort of plant thing going on. He mentioned a while back that he hasn't needed to eat in a long time because we all assumed it was just photosynthesis. But now I'm starting to think that he hasn't eaten in a while, because every time he goes out on mission, he just sucks up all the nutrients from his enemies. I will say I really like his design. I think he's got one of those, like, clearly he's like maybe not lazy, but like, I've been using air quotes a lot in this video already. It's only like a few minutes in. Clearly he's like not lazy, but he's kind of got that look to him. And then on top, but then he's also seems to be one of those people that it's like, well, he's still gonna fight you. He's still gonna do it. He's just gonna do it with a lazy look on his face. I will say I really like his flower pants. I think, I mean, obvious, another hint at, not hint, because at this point we basically see him use his power. But he has flowers on his pants. He has a sword, but doesn't seem to have okay, so this is interesting. I kind of noticed this when I was reading the chapter originally, but it's almost like he's got an unsheathed sword and it's black. I'm wondering if maybe that's like, it's not like, honestly, it would be super cool if he had a wooden sword, like a bokken, that he has now blackened using hockey, and it's like a permanent black blade, but it's a bokken made of wood that he has made from his own like devil fruit powers. Because I'm looking at it in the picture as he's like walking through, and it doesn't look like it has a sheath or anything. It just looks like it's a blade. So unless he's walking around with a blade just out, and it's black, by the way, I don't know. I do wonder, so like plant-based characters, they either are weak to fire or they're not, right? It's either they have enough of a manipulation around it as to be able to manipulate water in the plants that they're able to kind of like get around fire, or they are like completely burned up by fire. So theoretically, he could go up against Sanji. I will say I really, really like him showing up and basically just like beating the crap out of Kaido's crew. And like the first time we see him, he's got the like tendril like vine things coming out of his fingers, or I guess they are his fingers, right? And I assumed when I first read it that they were covered in hockey, and it was like, oh, this is hockey. But then I saw people like mentioning that, oh no, it's probably blood, right? Because he's like impaling king and queen and all of their people, and and it's really really weird because he's not just like impaling them, he's sucking them dry of all of their like nutrients. Queen is like starting to become thin and makes a comment about how he doesn't look good thin. He's meant to be a big guy. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, with the fire thing, him and Fujitora went up against Sabo, and Sabo has fire powers. So that kind of leans credence to the ability that maybe he has the ability to like reinforce his own vines and his own plants using the water around him, and then that way he can kind of like back off all the fire, because clearly Sabo, he's not dead, but clearly he's like got beaten in some capacity, at least is forced to run away. I do wonder how Oda is going to differentiate him and let's say like Kizaru, because they both kind of have that same kind of thing going on where clearly they're a little not lazy. That's not the word I want to use per se. It's more of like a laid back to some degree, not goofy either, but just kind of more like they're not like stiffs. They're not stiffs. Fujitora, even though he has a lighter side to him, he's definitely a little bit more stiff. Like Aokiji is lazy. Aokiji is laid back, but he's also very very lazy. But I wouldn't say that Kizaru and now Ryokugyu are like that. So I wonder how he's going to make the two of them different enough. And it seems to me that Ryokugyu, or Greenbull as everybody's been calling him, he seems to have some form of he seems to look up to Akainu to some degree, right? Because when he's reporting in to get a new ship so they can leave Wano, he mentions that he wants to see Akainu or Sakazuki like give him some kind of praise. So clearly he's looking for something. It's not just about the justice. He clearly likes Akainu and values his opinion. And I'm gonna use this word, but I don't really like. He clearly stands Akainu to some degree. He looks up to him. Akainu is his senpai. Because he says, I love that guy's cut no corners attitude. I want to hear him say, you did good when I bring him this kid's head, implying that he's going to go attack Luffy. Honestly, I'm just looking forward to seeing more of him. And now that I'm thinking about his sword again, I wonder if it'll be like, oh, I don't know. Okay. So there is this, if you've ever watched Tower of God, there is a series of swords. I think they're all swords. Maybe they're just weapons in general. But there's one sword in particular that is basically like, it's got like plant abilities, I think. If my memory serves me correctly, it's like it can kind of like stretch out to be a vine, like a whip kind of thing. I wonder if his sword is similar to that. And again, going off of my idea of like he created a boken and then like permanently blackened it, like Shusui or Mihawk's I forget what his sword is, but his sword so I wonder if he's got a sword like that, and it's basically just a boken, like a wooden sword that he uses and he swings around. I think that would be a cool little trait of his anyways. In any event, we don't know a whole lot about him other than what we've seen a little bit of. He seems maybe not laid back, but he seems a little bit laid back. He's willing to kind of blow off some people in order to, I guess, show Akainu that he's super cool. He's willing to show off a little bit so that he can get the accolades from Akainu. I'm interested to see what his interactions with our crew, with the Straw Hats will be, and with like our alliance, because clearly he's on his way to the Flower Capital, and he's gonna make some people's days real bad. So I'm interested to see what he can do. Maybe he can sprout flowers. There was another devil fruit that's not canon that allowed the character to grow plants. but that's not canon, so who cares? But I'm interested to see what he can do. Maybe he can grow vines externally and like grow flowers and plants. I honestly I wonder what his interactions with Usopp will be like that. Because if anyone could benefit from a devil fruit like that, it would be Usopp, because then he could grow his own pop greens and everything. An interesting thing that somebody pointed out is that it seems like wherever he goes, there are flowers. So maybe he's going to ultimately fix Wano's dire problem of polluted ground and like completely desolate land, because right now Wano, only parts of it are pretty because all of the other water and everything else is gross, and it's going to be fixed at some point, but it takes a long time for plants to grow back. So it seems like, at least from this last panel that I'm looking at, it seems like maybe wherever he goes, he can kind of like sprout little flowers and kind of like fix the land and till the soil and bring back the green to Wano. So even though technically he's there to kill some people, he's gonna bring back the plants and help the people of Wano have their wonderfully pretty land again. Genuinely, it's kind of funny that everybody thought that Greenbull would be Zoro's like dad or something like that, or at least until we saw like Uchimaru, who was also probably not anyway, at least not directly related to Zoro. But it's like, it's funny that everybody thought that Greenbull was gonna be related to Zoro, and that's definitely not the case anymore. I can't wait to see what he does next. Now that we're finally getting to see him do some stuff and we actually see what he looks like, it's gonna be really interesting to see how his interactions with the Straw Hats are versus like Fujitora, who Fujitora was technically in Dressrosa to capture some pirates, right? But ultimately had to let a bunch of them go because of how badly the world government handled Dressrosa. And now you have his buddy, not his buddy, but like somebody who he has been hanging out with in Ryokugyu, and see how his interactions with the Straw Hats will be, and what his take on all of this will be. Well, that'll be it from me. I'd like to know what you guys think about Ryokugyu or Aramaki. What do you think about Greenbull? Do you like his design? What do you want to see him do with his plants? What do you think his sword is like? Just what do you think about him in general? Let me know down below in the comments section. And if you enjoyed anything I had to say, make sure to leave a like. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. That way you'll get all the notifications when I upload. I do Pokemon and anime things alike. I will hopefully see you guys again very, very soon. See you later.